Chapter 12 Hazard. Andy placed a large platter of fish down on the table. Gosh, how yummy, said the new arrival, in an accent that Hazard guessed had been kicked off by a traditional nanny, molded in an English country prep school, and finessed in the officer's mess. He was looking rather uncomfortable and out of place in chinos and a tailored buttoned-up shirt. At least it was short-sleeved. Hazard set himself the challenge of getting him into a sarong before the week was out. Hazard had already done some groundwork. He knew that the floppy-haired, braying, but very jolly and well-meaning newbie was called Roderick, and he was the son of Daphne. So far as Hazard could tell, he was totally oblivious to his mother's grand love affair with Rita. He told Hazard that he'd given up waiting for Daphne to come back to the UK and had decided to visit her for a couple of weeks instead. He couldn't quite understand why she insisted on staying so long, but if it helped with her grieving for his dear departed father, then that had to be a good thing. Hazard had nodded gravely, not mentioning that he hadn't seen the slightest evidence of mourning from the merry widow. "Where do you live, Roderick?" asked Hazard as he helped himself to rice and fish. "Battersea," he replied. "I'm an estate agent." Roderick barked out every word with such energy and enthusiasm that Hazard couldn't imagine him ever being negative or depressed. He would cheer Monica up no end, surely. Hazard was rather fond of estate agents, who languished alongside bankers as the nation's most loathed people. Monica didn't strike him as so narrow-minded that she'd rule out an entire profession, and at least it meant that Roderick was likely to be comfortably off and a homeowner. Battersea was another bonus. Only just over the river from Fulham. "Your wife not with you?" asked Hazard, trying to sound casual. "I'm divorced," replied Roderick, as he picked little fish bones out of the side of his mouth, revealing, as he did so, acceptable levels of oral hygiene. He placed them neatly on the side of his plate. "All jolly amicable, though. Lovely girl, childhood sweethearts. Just grew apart. You know how it is." Hazard nodded sympathetically, despite the fact that he didn't know how it was at all, having never had a relationship longer than a few months. "Has it put you off marriage, though? Do you think you'd ever do it again?" "Crikey! Yes, like a shot. Best institution in the world." His expression softened as he looked over at Daphne, not appearing to notice her hand resting on Rita's knee as she whispered in her ear. "My parents were terrifically happy, you know. Married for more than 40 years. I do hope Mummy isn't too lonely." He looked rather wistful for a moment, then pulled himself together. "I don't manage very well on my own, to be honest. Need someone to keep me in line, not to mention do the cooking. Just need to find someone foolish enough to take me on." Hazard thought back to Monica's story in the book. "I try not to be too fussy, to ignore the fact that they haven't read any Dickens, have dirty fingernails, or talk with their mouth full." "I don't suppose you brought any books with you, did you?" "I'm running out. I'd love a Dickens to read," said Hazard, crossing his fingers under the table. "Only on Kindle, I'm afraid, and I haven't read any Dickens since school." "That would do." Hazard smiled to himself. After several weeks of grilling every single man of roughly the right age to no avail, it looked as if he might finally have cracked the brief. Hazard realized, as he exchanged banter with his newly appointed Romeo, that he felt a little sad, bereft. His quest to fix up a girl he'd never even spoken to might have been a little odd, but at least it had taken his mind off his own issues. What was he going to do now? Monica and Roderick. Roderick and Monica. Hazard pictured Monica looking at him again, but this time with an expression of the deepest gratitude, where before there had been disgust. Now, how was he going to arrange a meeting of his two star-crossed lovers when he was on the other side of the world? That's when he remembered the book. He needed to find a way to plant it in Roderick's luggage. The book would lead him to her. Hazard was about to go back to his hut to retrieve the notebook when he remembered the final and most important test of all. "Did you and your wife have children?" he asked Roderick. "One. Cecily," he'd replied, with a goofy smile on his face. fishing around in his wallet for a photo. As if Hazard cared what she looked like. All he cared about was the answer to the next question. Would you like to have more one day? If you found the right woman? No chance of that, old boy. I had the snip. The wife insisted. Said she wasn't going through all that again. You know, pregnancy, nappies, sleepless nights. Hazard didn't know. Nor did he want to. At least not right now. That was one of the things we argued about. Beginning of the end. And I just wanted her to be happy. Plus, it was either that or no bedroom action. Echoed Hazard, groaning inwardly, because with that, all his well-laid plans, like Roderick's sperm count, had been dashed. The reproduction thing was a non-negotiable for Monica. He had to cross Roderick off the list and start again. Many times over the following weeks, Hazard considered giving up on his matchmaking game. It seemed so improbable that the right man would just show up on this tiny beach on this tiny island. But as is often the case, as soon as he decided to stop trying, as if the universe was flirting with serendipity, the perfect solution just dropped into his lap.